So I wanted to talk to you because our last meeting that we went to, it was the UCF incubator. And,
Incubator SBDC, yes.
and they provided a little bit of a background about you and a lot of stuff I didn't know about you. And I had already had tremendous respect for you just because our first early conversations, you were so warm to me and open to me, and that's not always the case sometimes when you meet people. So I wanted to talk about three things. Number one, the GeorgeFest
Yes.
2024. And then I wanted to talk about any type of Eustis area events and like initiatives that the chamber specifically is getting behind and supporting, so that today's senior can echo those things and talk about those things.
Okay.
And then I wanted to talk about you, Marie, as the incoming chamber president, what your background is, and then I wanted to talk about that in an article, maybe even a separate article about like what your goals and agenda is pertain to the Eustis area and the chamber. And then like what type of new packages and benefits that you guys have planned for the membership, because at Christmas time you guys are updating those things.
Yes.
So I wanted to highlight those. So I guess first thing, let's talk about this GeorgeFest 2024. They said it's the longest running.
Yes. 122 consecutive years of GeorgeFest history. So you need this book, but I can go through, we sponsor events in addition to the city events, and we work collaboratively to make sure that all of this happens.
Sure.
But basically, GeorgeFest starts on February 3rd, which is a Saturday, with the running of the Georges. So we have a 5K that morning. Yes, and it's open to anyone. You just have to register online, and it's been a good event over the years. It's fun. A lot of people come out, they walk it, not necessarily run it, but they walk it, they participate, and that's the point of the whole event. And then the following Saturday, we have a kickoff concert in the band shell. So that's our first open air concert in the band shell. And there will be food and craft vendors there in the park. So it's like one day after another, it just starts building. And then on Sunday, the next day, we have Florida Bass Nation Tournament. It starts at the community building. They launch at like 6 a.m. and then they come back for weigh-in, and I believe the awards are like 2 o'clock. So anybody can register, anybody can participate. It's a lot of fun. That morning at 9 a.m., we're gonna have worship in the park at the band shell, church service, and then we will have our chili cook-off that afternoon with the tasting at 2 o'clock.
And how does that work, the chili cook-off?
You register, you get a team and you register, and you have your best chili recipe, and they come here in the morning, they prepare and they cook it here, and then there's a taste testing at 2 o'clock. It starts. It's a fun activity also. If you have a business, it's a team building event. Fire department, our police department, those groups get together, and it's a friendly rivalry, if you would. And then a lot of our business participate also. And then there will be an ice cream social in the park at 5:30 with Mystic Ice Cream, and he's one of our members, Daryl Day. And then the Miss Eustis Miss GeorgeFest pageant is at the band shell at 6 o'clock.
Miss Eustis
/ Miss GeorgeFest pageant.
Gotcha. Cool. And then what
That's
does that
at
entail?
6.
Okay. Can young ladies still sign up for that?
I don't know about still signing up for that, but that would be the city. The city is now handling that. The previous director, promoter of that, got married, and some things, she's helping. She's behind the scenes, but the city has actually taken over that event.
That sounds interesting.
That's fine.
I never heard of that.
Yeah, that's great. And they are a part of the Miss Florida pageant. And then Monday, we have the Lake Concert Band at the band shell, which they are a phenomenal group. They're
locals?
It's a Lake Concert Band. And then that's on Monday. And then Tuesday, we have lots of children's activities, free face painting, happy birthday, George sing-along, free birthday cake. This is all down at the Clifford House, it's the historic Clifford House, next to the community center. So that's pretty much Children's Day down there. And then they'll have a movie in the park on the lawn.
Movie in the park. That sounds fun.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then Wednesday, we're going to have a bounce house in the park here at Fair and Park. Yeah, we're family oriented also. So the history recital will take place in the band shell. So we're having a history recital, a bike parade that's sponsored by us and the city and the police department is assisting us, and that'll be in the park here at 6 o'clock. And then there's a youth talent showcase in the band shell at 7.
Youth Talent Showcase. That's very interesting.
Yes.
Okay. Did this was this seated in the high school and in the middle school, or just kids could just sign up and
Yes.
submit an audition
Yes.
and now?
And then Thursday, basically, the music is downtown. It is the concert starting at, I think it's 7, and the artist is Thunderstorm Artists. And then Friday is Thursday, the carnival also comes in. So we have a carnival downtown.
That's a lot of stuff.
It is. And then so Friday, the carnival is there again. We've got food and craft vendors, and these are supposed to be all day events. So I believe the vendors are coming in during the day and staying till 10 o'clock at night. Food and craft vendors, and they will be downtown and in Fair Park. So we're using both. Then they've got some entertainment in downtown, violinist, a mentalist. Act then will be in the band shell back here, and then featured entertainment at the band shell is Tracy Bird at 8 o'clock.
She's a local?
Tracy Bird is a country western singer. Saturday is our free breakfast sponsored by Sonic, Bay Street and Magnolia at 9 a.m. And then we have a dog jog sponsored by the Humane Society of Florida of Lake County. This is before the parade. So there's a dog jog, walk, whatever you want to do with your dog. They dress them up, and then the parade. And again, the vendors are downtown Saturday all day. The carnival's there. There's a pontoon boat parade at 12 o'clock. I mean, just local entertainment from 1 to 3 downtown. Martial Arts World is doing a presentation at 1 o'clock in the band shell. And then at 2, we have the Little Miss Eustace pageant. And then when they're down there, then it switches back to downtown, and we've got a couple bands. We're back at the band shell for Drake White at 7:30. And then fireworks will take place at around 9 o'clock.
In Fair Park?
They do them in the lake out here.
That's awesome. It's a lot of activity.
Yeah, that's why they put this out.
All right, cool. This is your first year as the incoming president of this chamber. So, what made you so qualified, and what are some of your background that made them want you to be president? Because obviously you have a lot of esteem.
Basically, my background is I am the child of entrepreneurs. Parents owned a business here and a business in the north, and I came here because my dad had bought a business here. I moved here. My husband and I bought a business. So we had a small RV campground bar and grill for 20 years.
Oh.
But during the same time period, I taught high school business. So everything just meshed. And I thoroughly enjoyed that. And I got into on a lot of committees that were needed through these nonprofits for these students to go to competition. And there's like FBLA. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's Future Business Leaders of America. DECA is the marketing program, and it's a co-curricular club that the students can join, and then they go to different levels and they compete. So I got really involved in that. I got involved in the testing portion of it, and I also ended up being the committee chair for logistics and contests, because we would go to large cities in Florida and we would have to put on a conference.
Sure.
So if you can imagine a conference for adults, imagine one for children, high school students. But it was a great opportunity for those students, and I learned a lot too. In the meantime, I got involved with hospitality through the Florida Hotel and Motel Association. I taught hospitality at Eustis High School. My students went out on internships, and Mission Inn is like our premier hotel golf course. And I worked with the owners of that institution to place my students there in internships while in high school. So all of that background, and I've always worked with the businesses. I did the work program. Here it was called DCT, which was Diversified Cooperative Training, which meant I had the students in class with me for the business portion of the program, and then they went out and worked. They had co-op. So I got to know a lot of the business people years and years and years ago. So, but I was still involved in it. I went to Miami and I worked for a year as a teacher.
Okay.
I just left here. I needed a break, and I left here. I had just gotten divorced, and my daughter was going to school in South Florida. So I said, I really don't have the money for a dorm. Well, I'm ready to go. Let's go. And I took a leave of absence. I went down expecting to get a teaching position, and I ended up the coordinator of a women's mentorship program for all of Miami-Dade.
Wow.
So, and that's a little bit of a culture shock, but I like change, so it was good for me. And I actually lived on South Beach. We lived on the bay, and I was like, this is like
Huge difference.
Yes, but this is like a dream. I wanted to have that experience, and we had it. And I worked, basically my base was downtown in the Macy's building in Miami. And so it was a culture shock for me, and I found out that it takes you, an hour to get anywhere that you want to go. We're starting to experience that here now, where the time is, extended for when you want to go somewhere. So you have to add all that extra time in. So I did that, and I came back, and I went back into education. I couldn't get back into the school system proper. So I had a friend that worked at a alternative school, which is at the north end of the city here. It's Ali Academy, and I went to work with them, and it's working with students that didn't fit in the regular school program. So I went to work for them. I taught history, and then I taught English, and I told them, I said, someday I'm gonna have to leave because I gotta get back into the school system to get my retirement and everything. And they were like, we get it, but I enjoyed my time there. They weren't allowed to have phones when I worked there in 2013. They weren't allowed to have phones, and I think it made a big difference in their attention span, etc. And so I worked there, and then I got back in the school system. I ended up at Mount Dora High teaching business. So, and then I retired in 2017. In the meantime, when I came back, my ex-husband had an accident, and I came back and took care of him until he was well enough to leave the state, and then he left. And then in the interim, I met my second husband, and we had a couple good years together. He was diagnosed with ALS in May of 2015, and he passed away in May of 2016.
That's
It was
those two. Wow.
so. In the meantime, he had told me if I wanted to run for an office, go ahead and run for an office. And I said, are you sure? And he said, yes. And so I decided not to do it when I found out he was sick. My plan was, we're gonna get in the RV, and I'm gonna drive you out west, and we're gonna stay in some campgrounds, and we're just gonna
Bucket list.
live our best life. Yes, I'll retire. And he passed away before I could retire and spend that full summer with him. So I decided, I had a friend of mine that said, do you want to run? You want to run for office? He said, for Eustis, and you please run for my seat. And I said, okay. And I said, I've never done this before. You'll have to help me. I don't know how to do this, how to maneuver this. And they did, and I won, and I was sworn in 2017. So yeah, I bounced back, but I needed to be busy since I had decided to retire from teaching. So I was like, okay. So for 4 years, I served on the Eustis City Commission.
Eustis City Commission. Now, were you the mayor, vice mayor? You were a commissioner.
But yeah, I was a commissioner, and I was vice mayor a couple of those terms.
Once I heard that, I was shocked. I was like, really? She was the vice mayor? Like it didn't seem to me, it didn't seem like the political type. I don't know if that's a stereotype or not.
This commission, city elections are nonpartisan.
Okay.
That's, just take that out of it, and just go in, and you want to do what's best for your community, your constituents.